Internet, it's Aaron, your personal driver, and today we're going to talk about the 4 ways Uber is stealing from you. It's not a very fun topic, but it's one that's really important and we're going to have to get through it together. So sit down, suck it up, buttercup, and let's get this done. Mystro! So, just to let you guys know, in Seattle, it is really fucking hot right now. It's like 85 degrees outside. No one has air conditioning because it's Seattle, Washington. So I'm a little glistening right now, and that's because I'm dying in here, and I turned the fans off because I don't want to have any fans in the background of the audio. So it's just me, heat, and you. So we're gonna have to get through this. This is actually the 3rd time I've recorded this video. The first time I recorded, my kids played hockey and baseball and football and treasure hunting with my external hard drive. So that's a video I've already done. I'll put the thumbnail of that right up there. The second time I recorded it, I edited it and was about to release it, and then Uber released its new terms of service, sparking a whole new round of #delete Uber. So then I had to re-record everything and start from the beginning. So hopefully 3rd time's a charm and this one will actually work. Now I know what you're asking, what are the 4 ways Uber is stealing from you? So I'm just gonna list them real quick for you. The first is gonna be the booking or service fee. The second thing we're gonna talk about is upfront pricing. I'm gonna break that into 3 different little subcategories. So 2A is going to be for the customer, 2B is going to be surge stealing, and the third one under number 2 is going to be a little bit harder. That's going to be how it violates the terms of service and basically the whole idea of how what RIDESHARE works. Now, number 3 we're going to talk about is the user error or computer glitch that Uber likes to talk about. And then the last thing we'll talk about right here is going to be Uber Pool, or as I like to call it, the devil. Okay, so before we get into the specifics, what we're gonna talk about is what is Uber? Like, what role does Uber serve? What does it do? So the first thing that does is it's like it creates a need that wasn't there before. It's a need creating company. The second thing it does is it's a referral or a booking company. The third thing it is a little bit of a tech company, and the 4th and 5th kind of combined thing it is basically a giant Ponzi scheme. Okay, so let's go over what Uber's role is. So the first thing Uber does is it creates a need that was never there before. I mean, before Uber, no one used their phone really to go anywhere. I mean, taxi cabs were still using walkie-talkies and shit to get around. I mean, it was terrible, and obviously the market needed something, and Uber saw that. But there was no need for anything. No one needed a cell phone to get a car. No one needed Uber at all. So the first thing that Uber does is it goes into a marketplace and it provides a service that no one knew they needed, okay? So it breaks into a new city, a new county, a new state or whatever, and then people like lose their goddamn minds. They think it's like magic. Like they get out their cell phone, they push a button and a car shows up. I mean, we used to tell people not to get in a car with strangers, and now we're using the internet to literally get strangers to come pick us up. But that need was never there. That's something that Uber created, and still to this day, that's what they're doing. They're going into new markets, new cities, new states, new municipalities, and they are, whether it's legal or not, bulldozing in and creating a need that no one knew they had before. So that's the first thing that Uber does. Now, the second thing Uber does is they are a referral company. What does that mean? Uber builds up a bunch of clients, and then they have a big giant client database, and then they offer their clients to individual contractors. If you're a driver, you're an individual contractor, right? Contractor. You have a 1099, and what they do is they say, hey, individual contractor, guess what? I have a whole list of people who potentially would like to contract with you. Do you want to take one of them someplace? And then you're like, yeah, I want to take someplace. So you're not actually building clientele, Uber is, and that's what they get paid for. They get paid for referring you a new potential client, okay? So that's the second thing Uber does. Now the third thing Uber does is just literally steal people's money, like all over the place. And like think of the worst Ponzi schemes that have ever existed, like Abramoff, right? Like they're like those guys. This isn't hyperbole, I'm not exaggerating, like literally it's a Ponzi scheme. Uber will never reach profitability. They are currently taking 60 cents on every dollar they make from investors. So when you pick someone up in your car and Uber takes money from you, that's only 40% of their income. They'll never make money, and they keep lying to people and telling them, oh, look at our giant great plan for how we're gonna do all this stuff, and people keep just giving them money, and they're gonna keep taking the money, and they're gonna keep taking investor money forever until it stops coming, because Uber doesn't make money. It literally loses money. Last year it lost $3 billion. $3 billion it lost, and yet people keep giving it money over and over again. So yeah, it's just, they're just taking people's money and then spending it on like cocaine and hookers. As a complete side note, thanks to the power of editing, I'm gonna show you where I predicted that Uber was actually gonna be using hookers because of their cocaine party and because of their sexual harassment. I said between cocaine and sexual harassment is sandwiched hookers, and so let's go watch that. But Uber is still pretending like it's some little startup tech company that nobody knows. They're like $50 billion company. think about that. Like, it's not the 1970s. You can't be throwing cocaine parties in 2017. I mean, I guess you can. They did. It's their money. I guess they can do it. But that's not your money. It's investor money. Like, Uber doesn't operate right now like at a profit. They're only operating because they have investor money. So people are pumping money into this company and they're using it on cocaine. I'm gonna guess hookers, because that's what comes after cocaine. Like, here's sexual harassment, here's cocaine, in the middle of that is hookers. Like, so I assume they were there too. So yeah, and then as a side note, they went into this Korean place where a bunch of call girls were there. If the call girls are just hookers, that's like a euphemism. Like, oh yeah, you just pay for my time. You don't pay me to have sex with you, but that's like, it's like, okay, that's a lie. So let's just move on. They're doing cocaine, hookers, and sexually harassing their own employees. Okay, now that tangent's over, let's talk about the other role that Uber plays in. It collects the money, okay? So there are a lot of places that collect money and then they charge a fee for it. Every single credit card, Visa, MasterCard does that. If you have this Square, which by the way, if not, here's my referral code, you should definitely get that so people can give you tips via credit card. But they take 2.75%. So there are, even your bank in some instances, if they collect money for you, will take a charge from that. So that's the other thing Uber does, is it collects money and processes it for you. And so since they do that, they take a fee. A very large fee, but they take a fee. So, and then obviously Uber is a tech company because they developed software and that does all this stuff automated for everybody, okay? So if you take all of those things and squish it together, that's what Uber does. So now that you know what Uber does, let's talk about how they use the system to steal from you. And sometimes it's illegal and sometimes it isn't. Number one, the service fee. Now, service fees I actually think is an okay thing for Uber to collect. I think most people that refer someone into someone else takes a service fee. Like if you go online and you book with an airline, or you buy tickets from someplace to like a concert or something, or even like a hotel, Airbnb, all that kind of stuff, all of those websites will charge you a small or sometimes large fee for collecting the money and processing the transaction. Okay, so I don't actually blame Uber for doing it, but the thing is, there's no end to the fee. They just raised the service fee again without asking anybody. They didn't ask drivers, hey, is it okay if we raise the fee? They didn't ask customers, hey, is it okay if we raise the booking fee? They just raised it, and they've continued to raise it, and they will continue to raise it. And the problem is, it's such a high percentage of money they take away from everything. The average Uber ride is 5 miles, okay? So that means about half the rides hit the minimum. I don't know what the minimum charge is in your market, so I'll just round it to even numbers so we can do math. Let's say the minimum fee is $5, and a lot of markets it's a lot less than that, but let's just do that for the math. So if a customer goes less than 5 miles, they automatically get charged the minimum fare for whatever that is in your area. In this case, we're going to start with $5 for the math, okay? Uber takes its service fee out of that, and then now all of a sudden you're left with less than $3. Then Uber takes 25% on top of that as per the service agreement. So that means in a lot of cases, in 50% of the cases or more, you're making less than $3 on a trip. And remember, you're driving 5 miles with those passengers, and you could drive up to like 10, 15, 20 miles to get them. So what Uber's essentially done is found a way for half of the rides that passengers take, they get more than 50% of the cut. And that's just straight theft, right? I know that they're doing it in like a roundabout way, and they'll say, oh, well, you knew about the service fee. Oh, well, you knew about this. Like, that's true, but that still doesn't make it fair or right. Every time they raise the fee, which they did again this year, what they're doing is they're taking money out of drivers' pockets and putting it in their own without consulting the driver. There's like, fuck you, drivers. Guess what? We're gonna take even more of a high percentage of your actual fee. It's total bullshit. So, number 2, upfront pricing. Now this is gonna get a little complicated, and I think a lot of you will probably leave, and I'm sorry for that, but I really, really want you to stay with me because this is very important. In fact, it's so important that 2 class action lawsuits are now going through because It is so brazen and just insane that Uber thinks that they can do this. I cannot think of anything else that could possibly be worse or crazier than this. It makes no sense. So what upfront pricing is right now is Uber no longer charges its customers per mile and per minute. They charge what they think they can get from the customer. And in some cases, they take longer routes to the destination than they should, or they just come up with a number. They just say, hey, we think you're gonna pay $25, so we're gonna charge $25. And sometimes the customers say yes, and sometimes they say no. It's based on nothing. It's based on how rich they think you are. So they've done a couple of studies into it, and like if you're in a richer neighborhood, they just charge you more money because they think that rich people don't care as much. And it's probably true. So again, I'm gonna start with some rounded numbers. Let's say it's $1 a mile, okay? Let's not worry about per minute just for the math purposes. Let's say a 10-mile ride is $10, right? So Uber might just charge you $15 for that $10 ride and you won't know a difference. Or they might even charge $11, it's only $1. They're gonna charge you extra and you might not care and you'll take it. But if they do it over the hundreds and hundreds of millions of rides, well, now they made hundreds of extra dollars just by stealing it from their customers. And not only is this just brazen and insane and just completely unethical, it's like why people stopped taking taxi cabs in the first place. Like people didn't like taxi cabs because they thought the taxi cab drivers were going longer, slower routes to charge them more money in an area they didn't know about. Like that was a big fear with taxi cabs, and that's why people switched over to rideshare apps like Uber and Lyft, is that it was charged per minute per mile and the GPS showed you the route that they were going. So what Uber is doing is like it's literally being a corrupt cab driver every single time every customer on its platform presses the request button. They're picking longer routes on purpose, they're overcharging customers because they don't know the difference. They don't know the area, they don't know what's going on, and they don't have any ability to do anything about it. So Uber has now become a corrupt taxi company that's stealing from its customers. Now, the other thing this does is it steals from the drivers. Okay, so drivers make 75% of the per mile per minute cost that it takes you to go from A to B, right? So this is how the process works. Now remember, Uber is a tech company, it's a referral company, and it's a collection company, okay? So you as the individual contractor take the money from the customer, meaning the customer does not pay Uber, it pays you as a contractor. And then you pay Uber a booking fee for referring the customer to you, and then you pay them 25% of the ride to process the whole payment process from A to B, okay? But 100% of that money is collected by you, the driver, and that's reflected on your taxes. For those of you who have been doing Uber for more than a year, you'll know that your taxes are higher than your actual earnings. And that's because 100% of the ride goes to you, and then you pay fees to Uber, okay? So if the customer, after the service fee, pays you $10, you have earned $10 and then you pay $2.50 to Uber. Does that make sense? So Uber's not collecting the money, you're collecting the money, it's just you're using Uber's services to process that money. So does that make sense? In other words, this is how they justify calling you a contractor and not an employee, because Uber isn't paying you wages, or at least that's the way it used to be. Now Uber just doesn't give a shit anymore. They don't care if you're a contractor. They're saying, well, we're not gonna let you collect the money. We're gonna collect the money, we're gonna pay you a fee. We're gonna pay you a wage. So they're basically leaving the contractor model and going to an employee model and just hoping that no one will notice. So now, if they charge you more than $10, say they charge $15 or $20, okay? You no longer collect that $20 and then pay Uber the 25%. Uber takes that money and then gives you the finger and then gives you the original $7.50 that you would get if they charged the customer a fair price. You see, they're stealing from you. They're cutting you out as a contractor and just collecting the money themselves. So you're no longer operating as your individual company. Uber's operating by itself as a cab company, and then they're paying you out from that. See how it's just totally backwards. Uber's already in a lot of trouble in a lot of different places for treating their contractors as employees, because I hate to break it to you guys, you're not contractors. I know you get 1099, but you're not a contractor. Uber definitely is your boss, and they definitely pay you wages, and upfront pricing is just more proof of it. So look at it this way, guys. So say you made $100 last year and you filed taxes. You made $100. Well, your profit was only $750 because you paid Uber $250 because that's among the agreement, right? But on your taxes, you have to report the full 100 because that's what you collect from the customers. Well, this year, when you file taxes, you might have collected $100, but you're only gonna get $600, $500 in profit because you've paid $500 or $400 to Uber because of the upfront pricing. So no longer is Uber making 25%, they're just taking whatever random amount they want out of your pocket and then just giving you the finger. And this is the main big change that we agreed to when we signed the new terms of service. Because prior to this, it was definitely in violation of the terms of service because you only have to pay 25% to Uber. So if they take 0.01% more than 25% of the fee that you collect from your customers, they're stealing from you. That's in violation of the terms of service. And that's why there's a massive lawsuit, and that's why they're gonna pay out the lawsuit, and that's why if they don't, they're gonna lose in court, because it's just blatantly violating the contract that you have with Uber. If you collect $100, you only pay $25 to them. But now Uber, because of upfront pricing, Uber is charging $150 to $200, but you're still only getting your original cut. They're keeping all the extra and putting it in their pocket. Okay, let's break it down ABC style for you guys. So a $10 ride, this is after the service fee, you collect $10 from the customer. As per the agreement, Uber gets $2.50 and you get $7.50, okay? That's 25%. Now, based upon the new upfront pricing, that $10 ride is now $20. It's twice as expensive. Instead of Uber taking $5, which is 25%, they now take the additional $10 they overcharged plus your $2.50, okay? So instead of a 75-25% split, I can't do the math, I'll do it here. This is the percentage of the cut Uber is taking. And that is after the service. So in a lot of cases, Uber will take up to 60% of the fare in violation of the terms of service, well, prior to the most recent update. That's not anything new. That's just old-fashioned wage theft, and that's something that companies have been doing to its employees forever. And that's just where we are now. And by the way, if you want to do something about it, and you should, I'll leave a link here and in the description for the class action lawsuit, and just go ahead and sign your name on it. It's gonna probably go nationwide soon, hopefully, because it's just brazenly stealing from its drivers. It's just crazy. And lastly, before we move on from upfront pricing, I want to mention that it's also basically like surge stealing. So again, if that 10-mile ride for $10 is now $15, that's the same thing as a 1.5 surge. So instead of drivers getting surge for that extra amount of money, which the customer is willing to pay, by the way, Uber's taking that and put it in their pocket. So it's like they're stealing all your surge. They're charging the customer exactly like it's a 1.5 surge. And everything except for how Uber wants to word it. There's no difference. It's a 10-mile ride, so why are they charging $15? It's just a 1.5 surge that they're putting in their pocket. They're stealing your surge on top of that. It's just absurd. Okay, and the third way Uber's stealing from you is miscalculation, computer error, user error, however Uber wants to say it. And my one of my favorite YouTube guys is Terry Tips. Boom! And he has a good explanation that he emailed Uber and asked for them to go through his records and give him all the cancellation fees that he wasn't getting. And it was massive. It was a massive amount of money he got back. So basically what happens is Uber will either pay you the wrong amount or not pay you at all for a ride, for a cancellation fee, for like a surge, or whatever it is. You won't get paid the amount you're supposed to get. Like if it's a $10 ride, it'll show up as like a $7 ride, okay? And so you're like, where'd the other $3 go? I drove 10 miles, not 7 miles. And Uber goes, oh, we're sorry. We calculated it incorrectly. We'll give you the right amount of money now. And the reason Uber does that is because the vast majority of drivers don't ask. They either don't know, or they're too embarrassed, or they don't know how to ask, so they just take it. Or they don't notice because they're new. I mean, a lot of drivers are brand new. They don't know time and distance or how to calculate it. They're just getting taken advantage of. So if you look at all the drivers there are in the United States, of all of those drivers they take one cancellation fee from, they've made hundreds of millions of dollars on a computer error. I mean, yeah, they'll pay you if you ask for it, but they're not being honest about it. They're literally stealing and hoping you don't say anything about it. So one, definitely email Uber and tell them that you think there's some cancellation fees they missed and ask for them. And as a complete side note, you know, Terry Tips is really cool, and I follow his channel a lot. It'd be really nice if he gave me a shout out. Now, I don't know if he will or knows who I am. He probably doesn't, and I'm really not cool, and he is super cool. But it would be awesome if he was like, you know, to mention me. Just saying. And the big news on this is that recently, New York, drivers are getting like millions and millions of dollars back from another computer error. And if you think it's just happening in New York, you're crazy. They're doing it in every city, in every county, and they're doing it on purpose. And they're trying to break the rules and hoping no one notices. And all I'm just saying is don't be a sucker. New York isn't the only city they're doing it in. They're doing it everywhere. And that's like up to us as drivers to push back and make sure that we're getting the right amount of money, because they're stealing from us in front of our faces and we're too lazy or timid to get the money back. And the last way Uber's stealing from you is Uberpool, or as I call it, the devil. Uberpool is the devil. Like, I might re-edit this video and just make this individual segment by itself, because I hate Uberpool so much. I think I might release this video twice. Once on the back end is the fourth way they're stealing, and once is just letting you know that Uberpool is the devil. Okay, so first off, if you're a passenger, don't take Uberpool. What's wrong with you? You're gonna get killed or raped. Like, you don't wanna get in a car with someone you don't know and drive to a place you don't know. Like, what are you, insane? Basically, what you're doing with Uberpool is you're getting a slightly cheaper fare and selling like your time. Like, you're saying half an hour of my time is not worth $3. Like, I am so worthless as a person that I will literally do nothing for the next half hour to an hour, and then because I'm gonna save $3. Like, you're saying that your self-worth is nothing. Like, you're putting a price on your time, and like half an hour of my time is important no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm recording videos, editing videos, playing with my kids, working, doing Uber, fucking sleeping. Like, I will never use Uberpool because you're gonna have to go out of your way to get other passengers. You're gonna lose time for a little bit of money. Like, my time is worth more than $3. I'm sorry. And if you don't think that, then you're a piece of trash who has no reason to live. Like, you as a passenger should value your own time, because you should be a valuable human being. And every time you request an Uberpool, you are saying that you are not valuable and your time is just worth a couple of dollars. But in referring to stealing, what it is Uber sells individual seats in your car, and they charge service fees. Remember service fees from the beginning of the video? For each of the individual drivers who get in your car. So if you have 4 available seats, 4 people get in your car, they do a service fee for each. Okay? But you don't get paid per head. Hey Internet, it's Aaron, your personal driver, and this is going to be a little bit of an editor's note here. As I was editing this video and listening to it for a second and third time, it just didn't say what I wanted it to say. Like, there are so many shitty things about like Uberpool that I could go on and on about it. So I think I'm gonna have to just do a separate video just on Uberpool. And instead, right here, I'm gonna display an article by the RIDESHARE guy where he goes into a little bit more depth of explaining how Uberpool is stealing from you. Just know that the mechanics of it are there so that on the vast majority of Uberpool rides, Uber makes more than 25% of the cut, and in some cases they make 60 to 70% of the cut, and you can get less than $3 from an Uberpool ride, and Uber can get upwards of $5 from the same ride. And I think I'm going to do a separate video explaining this, but I can't really let you listen to me bitch about it for another 15 minutes after this video is so long. So just know that Uberpool sucks, and basically it's Uber stealing from you. Alright, see ya. Alright guys, that was a long video, so I'm glad we got through it, and I'm gonna let you go now, but yeah. But before I go, I just want to let you know that I do like Uber and I like driving for them, but you have to realize what's actually going on, okay? You're a business owner, and so you need to know the reality of the situation to educate yourself. And this is why it's important to come together as drivers into a union or a collective or a guild or whatever you want to call it, to come together and push back on Uber so we can get some fair wages here. Anyway, hey guys, I hope you liked that video. If you did, go ahead and hit like, thumbs up, and go ahead and leave a comment and subscribe. You hit this button here. There are also going to be 2 videos here and here if you'd like to watch some more. And don't forget to hit the little bell icon that you have on your YouTube so you can get updates when I leave them. Thanks guys, bye.